I've left number 9 till right towards the end because, well, that's where 9 comes if you're doing 10. But I mean, I've left this tip till number 9 because I wanted it to be towards the end, because in theory, it'll be right towards the end of you making that connection. And there's a couple of parts to this one. Here's the first one is, if you're in a social environment and you've made a connection with a new person, if you sense that that little part of the conversation, even if it was only 1 line or 2 lines or 5 minutes or however long it was, if you sense that's coming to an end, it's a great idea to ask them if there's anyone else at that function that they might be able to introduce you to. Okay, if they've found any value in you at all, or thought that you were pleasant enough, or they just want to do a good deed, or maybe even they just want to get rid of you. Okay, if you say, hey, is there anyone else here worth speaking to, or however you want to word it that makes a light of it and doesn't make you seem like some Klingon, ask if there's someone else that they can introduce you to. They've already got your elevator pitch, hopefully. They already know roughly what you're about. So there may be someone else they can introduce you to who may be more interested in what you've got to offer at some level. Okay, so if someone comes to me and they say, oh, I really want to be a photographer, well, you know what? I'm not about to employ a photographer. But I probably know that guy over there who is a photographer, and I'll go, oh, you should go and have a chat to Rich, or whoever it is. And then I can say, hey, look, I'll at least introduce you. And then you can go and talk about that, and maybe there's something you can get out of that. And I'm almost always happy to do that if I know someone else. Or, and I guess I'm probably over enthusiastic about it, because it's one of the things that I'm so passionate about, is that I'll always try and connect people, not just to get rid of you from my own conversation. So always ask if there's someone else that they can help you connect with. Okay, and sometimes people will do that. And then the other thing, of course, is ask permission to reconnect with them. And so if there's someone that you want to stay in touch with, say, hey, would it be okay if I give you a call or an email or sometime? Or maybe there's a thing called a presupposition, right? And a presupposition is where you presuppose something to be true, where you just assume that the first part of it is true. So if you say to them, hey, what would you prefer? Would you prefer if I followed you up with an email or a phone call? That presupposes that they're okay with you following them up. So, how you word these things can sometimes give you, a little bit of an advantage or a disadvantage. So if you say, would it be okay if I follow you up sometime, they might blow you off. If you say, hey, what would be best for you? If I was going to follow you up, would it be best with a phone call or an email? Then they're less likely to say, actually, it would be best if you didn't follow me up at all, because you haven't given them that opportunity. And again, in my last tip, I talked about being confident, not cocky. So, you've got to make sure you word that with the right words and the right tone, because you don't want to seem pushy. But all I'm saying is that if you think about these things and the implication of how you ask things, you can have more or less chance of success. So a great thing to ask is, do get permission to follow them up, so that you sort of at least covered that off. And the way you do that can also be useful. And here's the last little bit to this one. And I can't tell you enough how much this will help differentiate you from anybody else who doesn't do this. And that is, if someone has expressed a specific interest in something while you're in that conversation, making that connection. Okay, so I've talked about asking them questions, and I've said that so that you sound interested, but there's another reason. And that is, if they have a certain account that they work on, or a certain kind of business that they do, or a certain kind of interest in or out of work, you then have the opportunity, when you follow them up, to say, hey, I saw this article and I thought of you. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but have a look at this. And I don't care if they're 75 and in charge of a corporation and you're 17. They can't see and experience absolutely everything that's out there in the world. And you know what? If they're 75 and you're 17, chances are you are experiencing different things and looking at different websites and reading different magazines and paper. So there's a very real chance they haven't seen it. And you don't have to be, again, this confidence and cocky thing. You don't have to go, hey, I thought I'd show you this, because sometimes people send me things and I go, oh, duh, everyone in the world has read that. But, again, you just say, hey, you've probably seen this already, but I saw this and thought you might find it interesting. And suddenly you're creating value. Can you see that, the importance of, hey, I'm emailing you because I met you the other night and I really want a job. Can I come and take something from you? Versus, hey, you mentioned you're really interested in this. I found this. And by the way, can you actually actively make a note that they were into something, and then go and search for something of value and send that to them? Absolutely. Okay, your job is to woo these people. Okay, well, you wouldn't think twice about it if you were wooing someone in a romantic situation. You go, oh, maybe I'll buy them flowers or chocolates or whatever it is people do these days. Poke them on, I don't mean Pokemon the cartoon, but poke them on Facebook or whatever it is you do on Instagram or Pinterest or wherever you are, right? People don't think anything of doing stuff, right? You don't always ask for something straight away. And it's the same with these people. What if just a couple of times you sent them an article or a link to something or a video, or you found a book? I've definitely done that before with potential clients or contacts, and sometimes it's purely just because I know they'd enjoy it. Like, we talked about that book, I'm going to send them a copy of that book. And sometimes I have absolutely no expectation in return. I don't want their business, I don't want to work with them, I don't need a job, but I just think it would be, they would find it interesting, so I do it. And what does a book cost? I don't know, depending on where you are in the world, somewhere between maybe 10 and 20 bucks. 10 and 20 bucks to make an impact on someone? Oh my God. So when you ask those questions, don't be just doing it, out of, I'm going to try and pretend I'm interested and, engage this conversation. Be keeping mental notes about what people are into. Be genuinely interested in those people, and then when you follow them up, you'll have something relevant to follow them up with, other than, here's who I am and here's what I want. Anyone can do that, but you can be better than that. There you go. That was a big one, and it kind of took an unexpected twist at the end, even for me, because it wasn't in my notes when I first thought about what this tip would be, but it is so important. So there you go. There's another one. So ask permission, ask if there's anyone else they can introduce you to, and then ask, maybe not permission, ask them what their preference is for how you're going to contact them again another time, and then don't be afraid to add value from there. Don't always ask. Okay, offer. That was number 9, 1 to go.